Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk. I am your ridiculously over good brother, Anthony Floyo. Don't adjust your sets. I am sitting in tonight for good old MF Michael Fletcher. He is under the weather this evening. He asked me to fill in, so no problem at all. I mean, I owe him a favor anyway from the Super Showdown thing a couple weeks ago when I couldn't host. But anyways, I'm joined by the phenom Michael Bullock. We're joined by the Twisted Angel Didi Woodson, and we're just gonna talk about tonight's SmackDown Live. That's all. That's all I've been instructed to do. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. SmackDown Live tonight from the Toyota Arena in Ontario, California, exclusively on the WWE Network on the USA Network rather. But but nonetheless, let's let's dive right on in. We started it off with an in-ring segment. Stop me if that sounds familiar. We had the New Day, and they were interrupted by Dolph Ziggler, and and then we went right into the matchup between Xavier Woods and Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler wins the match in 11 minutes and 56 seconds. So, all right, thoughts on all this? Well, New Day's portion of the promo was fine. I think I would have been more intrigued to hear about Big E's idea for the Freaky Hour, but nonetheless, Dolph Ziggler. I mean, yes, it was the same promo that he always cuts, but it was awesome. I mean, I know a lot of people are getting tired of it, but you know, both of these guys are crazy talented and they have delivered their lines well. But the premise for this feud is weak overall. But but it was a fine segment though, nonetheless. As far as the match is concerned, I would have to go on the record and say this was the fight of the night. I mean, this was an incredible match. Three and a quarter to 3.5 stars. It's good that they gave Ziggler a clean win here. He really needs something heading into the WWE Championship match on Sunday night. A valiant loss does not hurt Xavier Woods a whole lot. And he's generally protected enough that it helps out Dolph a bit. And still, it doesn't feel like there's a ton of heat behind this title match, especially after the Super Showdown event. But nonetheless, it was a victory that Dolph needed. Xavier made him look strong, showed off some flash offense in the process. He would be a good candidate for a singles career down the line, just like Big E. The match was much better after all the nonsense got out of the way at the beginning, as you would expect. And our favorite referee, of course, Mr. Danilo Enfibio. Danilo Enfibio! That's exactly right, Bullock. We had our SmackDown chat tonight, and we saw our favorite referee, first match out of the gate, and he had his hands full, so much so that he had to eject the New Day and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and rightfully so, because we want a one-on-one match. We don't want any excuses. We want a winner. I know I do. So that's just wanted to get that off my chest. But other than that, fantastic match. This to me was the fight of the night, no doubt about it. 3 and a quarter to 3.5 stars. Nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, come on in. Let's get your thoughts on all of this, the segment, and of course, Xavier Woods and Dolph Ziggler. Much better match than we expected.
Yeah, as far as the segment goes, I thought it was a good segment. I mean, yes, I mean, I still love I like the interaction with Kofi and Dolph Ziggler. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's really nothing more to say on that. But when it comes to the match, I mean, I agree. I mean, 3 and a quarter, 3.5 stars, much better than what I expected. I mean, yeah, I mean, all I can say is these two definitely delivered here and gave us a really good match here. And to me, it makes sense for Dolph Ziggler to go over because, I mean, you don't want to have him lose some of that momentum going into that steel cage match at Stomping Ground. So having him go over to me was the right choice here. So yeah, there's really nothing more that needs to be said. Segment was fine, and then of course the match 3 1/4, 3.5. So there's really nothing more to say. I'm just gonna give it to Dee Dee Woodson.
Yeah, the segment was fairly good. The Ziggler speech is getting kind of stale, getting kind of boring. He needs something new to say and not repeat the same thing every week. But the segment still was fairly good. I mean, it was still building up for the match this Sunday at Stomping Ground. The first match, definitely the fight of the night. I'm going to agree, 3.5 stars. Not much more I'm going to say about it. I mean, it was just very well done. So let's just move on.
And we move on to a moment of bliss. Alexa Bliss alongside Nikki Cross. Her guest was the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley to for final hype for their SmackDown Women's Championship match on Sunday night. And Bullock, I mean, we've been very critical of these moment of bliss segments for the longest time, but this was one of the better ones, maybe even the best one because of the intensity from both ladies tonight. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think this moment of bliss was much better than some of the other ones that we have seen. I mean, I love the heated exchange between Bliss and Bayley. I mean, basically, also telling, of course, Nikki Cross that Alexa's just using you, just like she used Mickey James, just like she used Nia Jax. So yeah, I mean this, and basically, I mean Bliss with some insults right back, and Bayley basically just heard enough. They went at it. Then Nikki Cross separated them, and then a right hand by Alexa Bliss. So yeah, I mean, to me, this is the ultimate booking 101 as far as I'm concerned here, and so I think we all can agree that we think Bayley's going to go over, but these guys will get into it more for when they have their stomping ground preview show this weekend. So not much I'm going to get into. Not much more I'm going to say about it. So I'm just going to give it to Dee Dee Woodson. So look, Dee Dee, say what you want about Alexa Bliss, but this has got to be one of the best moment of bliss segments we've seen, even though we pretty much trashed on it since it first came about.
Yeah, this one was one of the better ones, but still, Bliss herself. We all know she's using Nikki Cross. Bayley pointed it out. I like the fact that Bayley came out drinking Alexa's coffee since the coffee kind of has been a running gag the last few shows for both Raw and SmackDown with Alexa Bliss. But and again, at the end of this whole segment, you see a very confused Nikki Cross after Alexa Bliss, kind of blindsides Bayley. So it makes me wonder if maybe she is thinking maybe Alexa is doing something. Maybe she is Bayley's right and she Bliss is wrong. But it is what it is. We just kind of have to watch this play out and see what happens. She is going to probably be a factor when it comes to the match at Stomping Ground. So we'll see what happens. Not much more I'm going to say about it. Florio, it's yours.
Yes, interesting segment. Alexa Bliss brought out a little something out of Bayley, but I can't help but continue to wish that they would really define Alexa's role and stick with it. She exhibits a huge variety of heel and babyface characteristics, and I think it's getting progressively harder for the fans to determine what they're supposed to do with her. If they're supposed to boo her, cheer her, what have you. But nonetheless, this was a very solid promo that lifted an otherwise uninteresting feud. Alexa spoke a little too quickly. Bailey was monotone. But this was the most interesting promo content either one has seen in ages. And also, Nikki Cross had some quality facial expressions coming out of the brawl as well. So that's all I'm going to say on that. So let's move on. We do have some cutouts here. First one, Heavy Machinery against the B team. Heavy Machinery wins the match, 3 minutes and 34 seconds. It was announced that Heavy Machinery will challenge Daniel Bryan and Rowan for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship Sunday night as part of Stomping Grounds. And Daniel Bryan, you notice he called Heavy Machinery a joke on commentary who didn't take themselves seriously enough, which was maybe a bit too accurate for title challengers. And that said, Bryan was great on commentary. That was the most entertaining aspect of that. So nothing more to say on that. Then we had another segment here. Shane O'Mac, along with Drew McIntyre and Elias. It was really, putting over Drew McIntyre, getting ready for the match with Roman at Stomping Grounds, and they get interrupted by The Miz, and Miz showed some footage of Roman taking out Shane and a slow motion video. But then Miz got amped, let me tell you. And he pretty much spoke on behalf of all of us fans in the WWE Universe by saying that Shane just, his ego is out of control after he became the best in the world. And he says, we're sick and damn tired of it. Amen. We are. But nonetheless, what can I say on this except it was interesting to see them feeding Miz lines about Shane sucking the air out of the shows. It is largely true. We all find it to be largely true. And he's quickly become the most overexposed member of the roster. Hopefully that's a sign of an impending change and not only a meaningless acknowledgement. So, it was another fine segment for what it was. Then we had a tag team elimination match. The Miz and R-Truth, Awesome Truth reunited, going up against Drew McIntyre and Elias. Drew McIntyre and Elias win the match, 2 straight eliminations. They do so in about 9 minutes and 53 seconds to about 10 minutes. So Didi Woodson, what's your thought on all this? The segment and, of course, the match here. 2-for-1 deal here.
I like what Miz did. I guess that's where we're at. I kind of spaced out there for a minute. I like how Miz just came out and just pretty much threw all of Monday night back in Shane's face. I mean, that was kind of awesome to see, and to actually have him admit that this Shane McMahon crap that we've been going through now since March, I guess it's been, with the best in the world crap and the attack to Shane's dad just for Roman to turn around and attack Vince, and then Shane to be a hypocrite and all that kind of stuff. I mean, Miz pretty much kind of admitted, I started all this. It's my fault. I'm going to be the one to finish it. And I think, that you have to kind of commend Miz for actually taking responsibility for something that technically kind of was his fault, but at the same time, Shane, being the big head, just ran with it. Match was all right. I mean, not real crazy about the fact that everybody came out to try to steal Truth's title and then run around the ring and up through the crowd and everything. But I think they could have held that off until after the match was over. But that is what it is. I'm going to give it about 2.5 stars. Not really super surprised at how the ending came out, with Drew and Elias winning. So not much more I'm going to say about it. Floyd, what's yours?
I agree. As far as everything goes, I feel like we're going to see this Shane program drag out until at least Extreme Rules. Here's hoping it doesn't go until SummerSlam. I mean, the show needs fresh programs in the worst possible way. Drew McIntyre looked great as usual, but he's got to start winning big time matches to feel like a real threat at some point. I'm also not big on the 24/7 shenanigans mingling with what is supposed to be a serious angle. And furthermore, I'm not sure having The Miz take these losses nearly every single week is helping him, or anyone beating him for that matter. And where was Roman Reigns? The lack of Roman Reigns, that was strange, but unconcerning given the risk of overexposure that WWE has been dancing with in this ridiculous wild card era. So that's really all there is to say on that. So the match, yeah, I agree. I'll go with Didi's rating. I'll give that about 2.5 stars for the most part as well. So nothing more to say here. Bullock, no detail. Just give us your thoughts on the segment in the match.
Yeah, the segment was fine. I mean, Miz pretty much touched on everything when it comes to the ego of Shane McMahon. And as far as the match goes, I agree, 2.5 stars for the match here. So yeah, there's nothing more to say. Let's just move on.
And a couple of things that need to be addressed here. There was a backstage segment with the Iconics and the Kabuki Warriors and Paige. And Paige said that the Iconics and the Kabuki Warriors are going to meet sometime next week in Tokyo, Japan. And if the Kabuki Warriors win, they will earn a future women's tag team title opportunity. Very interesting. And then we crowned a new 24/7 champion. The general manager of 205 Live, Drake Maverick. He disguised himself as Carmella, and he got the 1-2-3 on R-Truth and drove away. So Drake Maverick is now your 24/7 champion. Main event time. How about this? The Universal Champion Seth Rollins from Monday Night Raw teaming up with the WWE Champion Kofi Kingston against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And for the second night in a row, Intercontinental rules. 2 out of 3 falls, but it didn't go the distance. Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston win the match. 2 straight falls in about 11 minutes. So, yeah. This was about 2.5 to 3 as well. Maybe second best fight of the night here. Decent match, but little reason for it to be 2 out of 3 falls. It's certainly not a great sign for KO and Sammy to lose 2 back-to-back falls here. But at the same time, momentum for the champions is not a bad thing. Both champs look like $1 million, and Sammy and Kevin continue to be the WWE's resident punching bags for TV main events. But, it is what it is. So 2.5 to 3. Nothing more to say. Bullock, so much for the Intercontinental rules. It ended in 2 straight, just like we saw last night.
Yeah, exactly. What did you give it, Florio?
I gave it 2.5 to 3.
Yeah, I would give it the same thing. I mean, yeah, so much for the Intercontinental rules. We saw this again tonight, like we did last night. So yeah, 2.5 to 3. So there's really nothing more for me to say. I'm just gonna give it to Didi Whitson.
Yeah, I'll go about 3 stars. It was a fairly good match. Good way to end the show. Definitely kind of a putting a door shut on Owens and Zayn and their little accusations they've been doing. So, plus it also, gave a good. Trying to think of the words because I'm really getting tired. It gave the champions a good setup for their matches. Set them off in a high. So, not much more I'm going to say about it. So, Florio, let's just go.
Overall review time, Michael Bullock, let me tell you, there's no right or wrong answer here. Just give us what you feel was the best rating for this show tonight.
I'll tell you this, Florio. I mean, this was definitely better than Monday Night Raw. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
As far as the rating, I know Fletch said he was worried about the show, but to me, this was much better. And to me, I'll give it somewhere between 6.5 to 7, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yeah, we did have some cutouts, but we had some good matches here, and the segments were good. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. I'm just gonna give it to Dee Dee Woodson for her overall review of the show.
Yeah, it definitely was better than last night's Raw. Yeah, I'll go with about 6.5. It was very storyline driven and very much what you would expect more for a go home show than what we got on Raw, because it did, draw your attention to the important matches and the people in it, and trying to build up the momentum to go in there to give us something that we can look forward to for Friday, or not Friday, for Sunday's pay-per-view. So, I don't have a whole lot negative to say about it. I mean, it was very well done. When you have a show that is storyline driven, you really can't say too much bad about it. So, I'm just glad that we actually had legitimate competitors and not jobbers this time in any of these matches like we did last night. So, not gonna say anything else about it. Floyo, I'll toss it to you.
6 to 6.5. That's the proper rating for this show here tonight. Action-packed show. I think maybe it was even too packed. Very few segments had any chance to breathe. Maybe Alexa Bliss had to hurry her promo earlier in the show because she had a total of 4 minutes to get out all of her dialogue. But despite WWE's efforts this week, Stomping Grounds feels like it has very little going for it in terms of big matches. Super Showdown sure as hell did not help any matters. But it's not like the TV had been inspiring stuff at any point since WrestleMania. Hopefully, after this, we get some feuds ending here, as fresh heels are desperately needed at this point. So we're just going to park it there. 6 to 6.5. That's definitely the correct rating for this show tonight, no doubt about it. So that'll do it for this. I want to thank you all so very much for tuning into this special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk here on my channel. We send out our well wishes to MF. We pray for his speedy recovery and immediate healing, and hopefully he'll be with us come Friday night for Strictly Sports, one of our special editions of Strictly Sports. It will be our 2019 NBA Draft Recap edition of Strictly Sports on Friday. And then sometime Saturday, we, with the time to be determined, we will have our Stomping Grounds preview show. And then Sunday night, immediately following the pay-per-view, we will have our Stomping Grounds recap show. And then we'll do it all again with Ridiculously Raw and Cerebral Smack Talk and all that. So that'll do it. So until Friday night for our NBA Draft Recap edition of Strictly Sports, it's your ridiculously over good brother Anthony Floyer here for the Phenom Michael Bullock, for the Twisted Angel Dee Dee Woodson, and in spirits, of course, good old MF Michael Fletcher, and of course, DF from RI401, the hardcore pipe bomb himself, Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune Force style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Friday night for our NBA Draft Recap edition of Strictly Sports, you've been watching this special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk right here on the Tone 25 and YouTube.com. And remember, no matter what anyone tells you, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, I think Floyo, so long, and bye, everybody, bye. Get well soon, MF.